Welcome to the very first episode of Cooking with Elastic. And in today's session, we're going to be going over the entire menu of getting data ingested. So welcome to the very first episode. But more importantly, welcome to Le Nuit d'Elastique. Within this session, we will be going over a wide variety of ingredients that we will be getting our search experience from. It is an 8-course meal. As you can see, we range the entire gamut of system logs, MySQL, and everything else down within this list. So some of these even have a very, very special seasoning that we will go over today. More importantly, we even have a special way of serving up the search specialty with synthetics that you will experience today. And on top of all of this, we will also be doing MySQL, not just logs and metrics, but the content itself. And finally, we will finish it all off with some security sprinkles with our endpoint solution of Elastic Defend. So get ready, get your aprons going, and let's get ready to cook.
Let's now set the data silverware for our cooking adventures. We have to deploy a few services first, and we're going to use instructions here within our platform instruct in order to follow the recipe to the letter. First, we must configure connectivity. Simply press this one little run button. Ta-da! Our certificates have been loaded and we are ready to begin the next section. We have to jump over to this Docker host. You can click this button here to do so. Next, run this little code snippet. This will take a few moments to complete. When it does, we will have our host set up just the way we like it. And from there, we will begin cooking ever so more. Now, with all of the various setup steps with OS query, MySQL configured, and every other little bit of networking config, we're ready to begin the next session. So once you see all scripts completed successfully, go ahead and expand right here, and we will move on to our Fleet tab by clicking this button. Now we're going to be creating a couple of Elastic Agent policies. If you wish, close the tour, because I will be your guide throughout here. We're going to create that first policy, and we're going to call it Docker. We'll leave this enabled and create that agent policy. You can follow along on these instructions, or you can follow the guidance of your head chef here. Next, we're going to create another agent policy. This time, we're going to call it synthetics. And here, we're going to disable this collection. Now that we have our two policies, both with one integration and 0 integrations from there, we're going to add our seasonings to our Docker policy. So go ahead and click on Docker. We're going to take that system 2 integration. We're going to give it a proper adjustment. You don't want -2 in there. It's a little too much. And we're not collecting Windows logs. And we want to make sure we collect our metrics. Change our defaults. And we're going to apply it to that Docker policy by simply clicking the Save Integration button. Once that's done, we're now going to simply search for Docker. And we have a search bar up here to do so. So type Docker, and it'll be the first result. Next, we're going to click Add Docker. And from here, we're just going to update that name, make it look nice and neat and proper. And then we're going to add this integration to an existing host of our Docker policy. Nothing more. Then click Save and Continue. We're not ready to start the pot yet, so add Elastic Agent later. Next, we're going to do MySQL. So again, let's search for it up top, and we want this middle one, the MySQL integration. Now this one will require a little bit more love and care. We're going to update that name to just say MySQL. From the host is fine. But from the metrics, we need to expand this out. And more importantly, we need to update that password that's associated here. We don't want test, we're going to need root pass. Go ahead and change those defaults. We don't have a replica, so might as well disable it. And of course, we're going to put this on our existing host of Docker. Go ahead and save. And then save and continue. Add our Elastic agent later. Now we're going to click back to integrations. When we go back to integrations, we have a handful more that we're going to add. First things first, OS Query Manager. Add that OS query. Call it nice and proper. Existing hosts, Docker, save and continue. And then once that gets configured, we will add our Elastic policy, our agent later. Click back to integrations. And Elastic Defend, thankfully, is right here at the top. So go ahead and click on that. Add Elastic Defend. Give it the name of EDR. Copy and paste it directly from there. Make sure you use the complete endpoint detection and response on our existing hosts of Docker. And then from there, we're just going to save and continue. Add Elastic Agent later. Sometimes it takes a bit to mix. And now we need to tinker just a little bit with our EDR. More importantly, what we need to do is we want to set this setting for our Linux operating systems. And as you can see, there's quite a few ways we can customize various operating system collections. And since we're not working on Windows, if you want to disable that, that's fine, although not necessary. We're going to, in our Linux operating system, collect session data and capture terminal output. We already have Docker as our agent policy, so go ahead and click Save. Next, we're going to go back to integrations. We're going to look for FIM, or File Integrity Monitoring. Add File Integrity Monitoring. We want to do recursive monitoring because we care about everything inside here. Make sure it is added to our Docker policy. Save and continue. Add Elastic Agent later. Back to integrations. Packet capture. Now this one is going to require a lot of modifications. It's easy, as you can see, but we'll add our packet capture, give it that name of network traffic. And on these defaults, this is where we need to modify quite a bit. We're going to enable monitor processes for several settings, specifically flows, so monitor processes. For HTTP, we're going to monitor process and add a 30,001 port. We're going to monitor processes for ICMP. And then we're also going to do it for MySQL, of course, because we have MySQL running. And then finally, we're going to do TLS. And we're going to add a row here, which is our port 8220. With all of that there, we're going to add it to our existing host. Of course, our one policy of Docker. Save and continue. Add Elastic Agent later. Now we get to search for our agent policies. Let's review what we've done thus far. So we have Docker with 7 integrations, Synthetics with 0 integrations. And if you want to take a look at it, you can. So it should look something like this. We kept FIM as FIM1, that's fine. It's just a naming convention. And we can see that they're all configured and ready to go. So with that, we are ready to move on to the next chapter. So go ahead and click Next. Now it's time for the plat principal, or the main course. Go ahead and click Close Tour. We're going to deploy our Docker agent. So from here, we're going to select the 3 dots next to our Docker agent policy, and we're going to add agent. From here, just simply scroll down, make sure your Max tar is selected, and click that copied button. Once that's done, you can either click on Docker or click the button. I like to push buttons. And then all we have to do is paste. Once that command is pasted, the Elastic Agent will neatly begin installing, and more importantly, you'll be using that Docker policy. You'll notice at one point where it gets to a spot with 2 pound symbols. Go ahead and press enter again, press Y for yes. You'll copy the installed files, and we should be just about installed. Once it's given the message Elastic Agent has been successfully installed, jump back to Kibana and verify that that agent has come in. This is one of our longest sessions, but it's worth it for the main course. Now incoming data is there. Cool. We can finally click close. Next, we're going to deploy our synthetics agent. This one requires a little bit more of tender care. So again, same process as before, as we add our agent, but this time we only need one piece of information, which is this enrollment token. This enrollment token is what specifies which policy to use. So all we're going to do is click, highlight it, that little token portion, click copy. Once that's copied, we'll go back to that same Docker agent again, but this time we're going to run this command. So go ahead and click that run snippet, and then we can paste that enrollment token. And what this does is it automatically applies the full command for you. Yes, I'm certain that is correct. And now that's going to spin up an Elastic Agent, but this time the version of the Elastic Agent, which is considered complete. It has a synthetic browser in there, so we can run full synthetic journeys to simulate what a user would look like should they wish to interact with a website. More to come on this sooner, but this takes a few moments for it to come down. As you can see, pulls in quite a bit of data. It's always fun cooking in the kitchen. I believe that's the largest portion, if I remember correctly. Ah, yes. So when we're done, we will have deployed 2 Elastic Agents, one directly installed on a Linux-based host, and then another running as a container. This one running as a container, we didn't install the system integration. Why? Because we already had that running in our one that was directly installed. So we have downloaded the most recent version of the 8 series, which is 8.19.3. We can see everything that was done for us, and then we can click here by going back to Kibana. See that agent has been enrolled. We'll confirm some incoming data here in a moment. And then next, my favorite few words as a chef and cooking for anyone, which is dinner is served. So go ahead and click close. And now we can start to review all of the dashboards and content that we're seeing coming in. So while we're still getting some data in and we're using this very, very small host, let's look, for instance, the metrics MySQL database overview and see how that data is coming in. So in the last 15 minutes or so, how much activity is being gathered. If you need to click back on dashboards, just simply click back from here. And while we're at it, let's look at our TLS sessions, what's going on, so we can see what ciphers are being used, etc. And maybe take a look at some of the DNS activity, if it's there, how many DNS events in our small little instances, whatnot. Finally, let's also take a gander all the way back. And oh, what's this? That looks pretty interesting. Come back on that in a minute. And to all these dashboards for just a few simple clicks. Take a look at our Docker overview so we can see that it's our MySQL database that's running, as well as our Elastic Agent synthetics agent. So I hope you're enjoying your dinner thus far, but there's so much more we have yet to do. Next, we're going to go over to OS Query. So go ahead and just copy that OS Query at the top, and we're going to OS Query Management. From here, we're going to do a new live query. We're going to select all of our agents. If we had more than one or specific platforms we want to query, we could do that. We'll just make it simple and just say all agents. We want to use this query, so simply copy it, but we're also going to need this advanced section, paste that in. And within here, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to map our field as it's defined within OS query to an ECS field. So client.ip is going to be address, process name is going to be name, package path is going to be path, and finally client port is simply going to be port. From there, we'll just simply hit submit. And what you should see in a matter of moments is bidirectional communication from your Elastic cluster to your Elastic agent with that OS Query Manager integration, which is then querying OS Query directly on the host, running that query that we specified from here, and then returning the results. At those results have been stored in an Elastic Index. You can use them for a wide range of purposes. Most notably, compliance folks love that type of ability. That's not all. There's a lot more with packs that are built in there as well. So if you notice on the top left-hand side, there's packs. Let's load our Elastic pre-built packs. And voila, here's some of the out-of-the-box instances. If you wanted to quickly play, see what vulnerability management is like, you could easily do so from there. But that's not all. Now, we're going to go back to dashboards. And we want to see specifically the FIM dashboard. So go ahead and just type FIM up here. I want to make sure you pay good notice to this one instance since we're on the topic of compliance and vulnerability management. File integrity monitoring kind of falls into that. It might be helpful to know some file path, if it was deleted, created by whom, those types of things are kind of important. Next, we're on to synthetics. This is quite a whirlwind tour that you're getting here. From here, we need to first create a location. This location name we're simply going to call it private. We're going to select our synthetics policy, and we'll leave it available in all spaces. Go ahead and click save. After we do that, then we're going to create a monitor. From here, we're going to use the handy dandy website URL of elastic.co from our private location and create the monitor. Once that monitor is created, you can now see what the journey is going to be like and so on. But let's create another monitor. This time we're going to do an HTTP ping. We're going to just do it to good old google.com and we'll call it google.com from our private location. And more importantly, let's click a run test. Once this test runs, it'll take a few moments. And what's going to happen is there's going to be one little command that's driven from your synthetics agent that's running in the container. That's then going to go out and look at google.com and make sure that it can reach it A-OK and understand some pieces of information on it. Now that we know that's good, it's up, it's completed, go ahead and click create monitor. So once that's done, we should see that there's 2 monitors created. Now that we have those, let's go ahead and click on TLS certificates. It might take a few moments for it to come up because these do run at a certain rate. So go ahead and run test manually, kind of force its hand. And voila, once it comes up, we can now see what the common name is, who it was issued by, when it's valid to, and how old it is, as well as its associated fingerprints. So there's a lot of goodness that can come from synthetics. Not to be outdone, let's go ahead and copy and paste that AI assistant for observability and search. And then down below, we're going to add our AI assistant, the preferred AI assistant type. You can choose whichever you like. I'm going to do observability and search, and we're going to put that in our other apps. Go ahead and click Save Changes. And then once you do, you now should see this AI assistant button there. We're finally going to go back to Discover. And within here, we now have our AI assistant button at the top. And while we don't have our knowledge base installed for this one instance, we are going to ask just a simple question of our data. Please provide a count of values of the destination region name field. And once we start doing that, our AI assistant will then look for those fields, see if it exists, and then query it. While it's a rather simple query, it offloads a lot of work should somebody come up and ask you to accomplish something. It allows you to focus on other tasks at hand and be that much more effective. This isn't the only experience that you'll get with our AI assistant. You'll see quite a bit of others as well. And like so, now we can see that our AI assistant has given us a count of our region names and provided us some very helpful information. So thank you for this assignment. I will see you in the next section. Welcome back. And now it's time for a side dish of search. So we talked about logs, metrics. We even did synthetics. What we didn't talk about was the content of the data itself. So these are our content connectors, or in this series, connector croutons. So we're going to select the MySQL data source. And as you can see, there's many others in here, but we've pre-configured this for you. It's very important that we call this connector, this MySQL SalesDB, with a description of sales insights. But we're going to do a self-managed connector. Go ahead and click Next. Now you're going to have to jump back and forth between this page as well as your terminal. You're going to need these two pieces of information, which is the connector ID and the API key. So while this command could give you one simple instance, it doesn't make it entirely there because we're dealing with a virtualized environment and what have you. So go ahead and click this Docker button right here, which will then run this command, and it's looking for that connector ID. So go ahead and click back on Fleet, copy your connector ID, go back to Docker, and paste. Hit enter. Now the API key. Out of the API key, go back to Docker, paste, hit enter. Does that look groovy green to you? It looks groovy green to me. Note this IP address right here. You're going to want to copy that. And every time it's different, so everyone gets a different IP. So we can see in my instance, it's 10.32.0.13. When I was making these instructions, it was 10.32.0.65. It will always be different, but you will need to copy that IP address. Once that connector is done being installed, we can go back to our Fleet. By you to click here or on the tab. Press that yellow button for recheck now. Connector connected. Go ahead and click Next. Paste the IP that you copied. And then we need to provide this other information. Standard MySQL port of 3306, username of root. It will use the password rootpass, and then the database of online orders. Once that's done, go ahead and click Save, click Next, and then first sync your data. And what is that doing in the background? That's sending a command to that connector to run, to then interact with that MySQL database. While that's running and while that's finishing up, we can go ahead and click the indices on the left-hand side. So it takes a few moments for that connector to read everything and bring it in. And voila, there we go. 1003 entries from our MySQL database. So while that got us that far, let's take a look connector MySQL sales database. And with this all connected, we can see how long it took, 2 seconds to bring in that many documents. We want to look at them. We can see that, hey, there's shipment dates, customer names, all that information, everything that would be in a particular database. But next, what we want to do is that same AI system from before. Let's go ahead and ask it a question about our data. Look at the index connector MySQL sales DB. What is the most expensive item that was sold and to whom? Well, gee golly. Thank you, Elastic Assistant. It'll help me find the most expensive items sold and to whom. And since I told her which index to use, it automatically knows. And based on that, it was that 24-inch monitor at that price, purchased by, this is a fictitious name, FYI. This was all self-generated using the powers of AI of Anna Fletcher at this fictitious address. So, not too shabby. And since we've had most of our meal, it's time for dessert, but we have to bake it. So jump on over to the Elastic Stack CLI. This one takes a little bit longer to run because there's a little bit of baking that truly is involved. All those rules have to be pre-loaded, activated for the next bit, which is the security sprinkles. But once it's done, I believe you will enjoy the last bit the most. So let's recap what's going on so far. We've created 2 agent policies, one with a bunch of integrations, one that we ran only as a container, specifically for a private endpoint. We also leveraged OS Query to interact with our host to see what ports and processes were running. We aligned it to the Elastic Common Schema. We monitored various endpoints with synthetics. We were able to determine what files were being created, modified, and deleted with our file integrity monitoring. We looked at network packet capture information of our MySQL instance, as well as our Docker instances. Quite a bit of work that was being had here in this kitchen today. So once this is done, our 1,470 rules have been installed as of today. Our security sprinkles have been applied. So bon appetit. I will see you in the next section. Welcome to Dessert with Security Sprinkles. Let us dive in, shall we? This will be the sweetest one of them all. And with this, we have to do one little step first. So I think we can all tell I was a 90s kid. So let's get dangerous, shall we? Go ahead and jump over to that Docker host and run this one command, which all it's doing is installing a Plex media server. Now, maybe it's okay to do this at work. Maybe it's not. I'm going to press it 2 times just for good measure. Because why not? Double the trouble, double the fun, I guess. Once that's installed, jump back over to Kibana, and then we may need to press a refresh button. Sometimes it takes a few moments for our alert to show right on up. I'll back over and try it one more time. There we go. This job runs every few minutes, so sometimes it'll take a moment or two for it to catch on. But once it runs, you can see that DPKG package installed by some user. What we want to do is we want to analyze the event. So from here, and let's zoom out a little bit, we can see that full out process tree that was involved with everything involved with that one installation. Now, granted, this wasn't a malicious file. The idea is that I want you to see all of the particulars of that graphing view of all the commands, how long each took. Next, let's jump over to the session view so we can actually see, and this is why I had you set those two settings within the EDR config so that you could see the exact session connects that were run. Next, we're going to click on Insights. And within these entities, we're going to get some more information around the host that was involved. And then finally, we're going to look at prevalence. That prevalence is going to tell us a lot about how often that host that name was seen, what alerts were run, and so on. Finally, go ahead and collapse those details. Next, we're going to click on Attack Discovery on the left-hand side. Now, before we can begin, we're going to click this Customize button up here in the top right. We have to select the connector. We're going to use the Bedrock connector. We're going to click Save and Run. Once you do that, notice here on the right, generation started. It will take a few moments. Attack Discovery will then begin to give us a synopsis of that one event. And as that's running, you'll notice in just a moment that it'll say that we have to refresh to view material. Take a few moments for our dessert to be baked. Ta-da! Refresh to view the results. And now we can see this package installation activity. This was the package on that host by the user root using sudo privileges. And hey, this is this part of the MITRE attack framework and using this part of the attack chain, as well as whatever actions we could take. So within this session, we have now encompassed all three pillars of Elasticsearch: observability, search, and security, all in one cohesive platform. So at the end of the session, you have now completed every aspect of the cluster. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed your meal. Bon appetit.